Ready, set, podcast. Welcome to Old Fashioned Finance, the podcast that mixes cocktails and high finance. I'm your host, Caleb Frankert, and I'm joined by my good friend and fellow money muddler, Jason Burnell.
Caleb, can a podcast about finance be entertaining?
You know what? I think this one is.
Most of the time.
But usually not without alcohol.
Yeah, let's mix it up. Wow.
Hey.
How's it going?
It's going, man.
I know.
Did you see the Kentucky Derby?
Oh, amazing.
It was wild.
Oh, I mean, everybody likes rooting for an underdog.
Well,
I mean, I root for you every day.
This is true. Yeah, it was wild. I mean, talk about a really underdog, not even supposed to be on the ticket.
I know.
It was really cool.
I know.
I think that I got into horse racing just a little bit when I got into bourbon because they go hand in hand.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to
Louisville,
they're everywhere. Horses are everywhere.
Yeah.
It's big business.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Mint juleps. We did that last year.
Yeah.
We actually did a Derby episode, if you remember.
I do.
So this year,
Yeah.
we're going to go Preakness. So not as hyped, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a Triple Crown winner here with this horse. I don't know. Maybe, though.
Maybe. It's possible.
He was a beast. Did you seriously?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you didn't watch it,
Oh, my
folks,
gosh.
watch it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're drinking a drink called the Preakness.
Yes.
I don't know a lot about horse racing. So, with that theme, we're going to talk about something else that I don't know a lot about.
Wow, I feel so old today.
But we're learning.
That's right.
We're going to talk about NFTs today, Jason.
I know.
Non-fungible tokens.
Fungible.
Fungible. I think it's fungible.
It's fungible. It is.
All right, you want to get into it?
What a cool word. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's get into the drink here. Folks, today we're drinking the Preakness because this Saturday is the Preakness.
Yes.
And you should enjoy one of these, I think. I don't know. We actually haven't tasted it yet, so stay tuned.
Exactly. Well,
All
I have high expectations for this.
I do too. It smells good.
It does.
All right, so what we're drinking today is a Preakness in celebration of the Preakness race coming up this weekend. You can make your own Preakness at home with these easy ingredients and steps. 1.5 ounces of American rye whiskey.
Oh, yes.
3/4 of an ounce of sweet vermouth. 1/4 ounce of Benedictine.
Yeah, I don't know. That's where you start losing me.
1 dash of Angostura bitters.
Yeah.
And in my book, it means 2.
Or more.
And garnish with a lemon twist. So Benedictine you may not be familiar with.
Right.
It is kind of a special a la carte. What's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
It's a novelty. It's a novelty liquor.
Novelty.
Yeah. We've used it in a couple of drinks before.
It's harder to find sometimes, so...
Yeah. It can be.
Yeah.
But a little goes a long way.
Yeah.
I kind of throw it in the absinthe category.
Yeah, me too.
So, all right. So basically, yeah. We
just
love
rye, though. I mean, and vermouth. Like, it's...
Oh, absolutely. If you look at it, it's very, very close to a traditional Manhattan recipe.
It is.
Basically, add some Benedictine to a traditional Manhattan. Lemon twist.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see.
Let's do it.
What do you think? Cheers.
Yeah. That's great.
I'm not sure what I'm tasting. It's Benedictine because you know me. I know Manhattans.
That's great.
There's something extra there. It must be the Benedictine, but I can't put my finger on it. Can you? What is that?
I don't know. Did you actually? I mean, do we have lemon in this at all, or no? So we're kind of cheating just a little bit.
Just a lemon peel garnish for scent.
Yeah, but that's really good. I like that a lot.
I might be way off base here, but there's like almost a cloviness to it.
No,
shoot. We should taste Benedictine by itself.
Okay.
Benedictine. All right. So we have a little bit poured into a glass here. You got the bottle in front of you.
Yeah. I mean, this is a liqueur. I mean, we knew that, but the smell is not giving it away.
Oh, what is that?
Oh, it's from France. It has to be. Great. 27 different herbs and spices made from a secret recipe dating back to 1510.
Benedictine monks. I remember this.
I love this.
So there's like some strange spiciness going on, some sweetness. The clovey thing, I think there's some clove in here.
Aroma of spices, citrus with hints of fresh flavor notes, mellowed in a touch of honey. A memorable experience for your senses.
Honey, I got it.
It tickles your senses like Mountain Dew.
It really does. It tickles your tongue a little bit.
It does.
It's really thick and syrupy on its own, by the way.
It's great over ice, it says, and we're drinking it not over ice.
Hey, you know what? That is a really... I would put this drink...
very interesting.
It is.
I really like that.
I would consider this a Manhattan, basically, with Benedictine.
But it has, the vermouth is in there too, so
it's a Manhattan.
Yeah?
Yeah. This is a Manhattan with some Benedictine, which is cool because I get the honey and the cloviness.
And if you could see what we're drinking, it's kind of thick.
It is.
It's
almost
syrupy.
cough syrup.
Yeah, maple syrupy kind of going on. That honestly, by itself, is kind of good.
It's interesting. You know what? We've had this bottle for a while. I'm not sure what it cost roughly. I would say it's worth investing in a bottle of Benedictine. A little bit goes a long way. It's just
sweet.
really interesting.
It's sweet though, but I like all the flavors, so that's cool. And we didn't use a fancy rye here.
No, Old Overholt.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great drink for not so sophisticated rye, but
and a great rye would be fantastic. Something real prickly on the tongue, Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
Man,
I like it.
Try it, guys. This is a good one.
To me, it tastes like a very fall-inspired Manhattan recipe.
If you like
Manhattans,
Manhattans,
it's summertime. If you like Manhattans,
and we like Manhattans a lot.
I love Manhattans.
I know.
I don't just like Manhattans.
I know. we give them big old hugs all the time.
All right, well, let's get into the finance topic here, Jason.
Do we have to?
We do, because this is how we learn. So we're talking about NFTs today, a primer on NFTs, because that's all that we're qualified to do. This is new territory for us. You hear a lot of people talking about it. It reminds me of when Bitcoin became a thing, and everybody wanted Bitcoin, everybody wanted to talk about Bitcoin, but nobody really understood what the heck Bitcoin was.
Well, do you think people understand it yet?
Maybe a little bit better.
I think fundamentally they don't. The blockchain and Bitcoin and cryptos are just...
So the blockchain, and fundamentally speaking, they're predicated on the same kind of theory.
Absolutely.
So these do go hand in hand. Yeah, this is an interesting one. So NFT, Jason, means non-fungible token. Essentially what it is it's a way to register unique images, videos, even physical items on the blockchain.
Right.
So you brought up Bitcoin, the blockchain. We'll get into some benefits of that.
Crypto is fungible.
Yes.
So it's like
Absolutely.
I have a dollar bill, I can exchange it for a dollar bill.
Right.
Okay. Same way with Bitcoin, one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin.
Always.
No
matter what.
No matter what.
So fungible, that's I don't know why when they came up with this acronym, you would go with fungible because
it sounds like fungus.
NFT has a ring to it for sure, but yes, you're right. I think of fungus. Fungible is a fancy word for non-unique.
Right.
Non-fungible basically means unique.
Correct.
So if you have an NFT of a piece of artwork that someone produces, you can exchange that for something, but you can't exchange it for a like item. You're not going to be able to, right? You
yeah.
Can't,
so think of that like
duplicated.
Super collectible baseball card. You're not going to be able to that exact same quality somewhere else. It's very, very, very unlikely. Well, with an NFT, it's impossible.
Yeah, and you know what? It could be, you bring up a baseball card example. I don't know. Maybe I'm out of my element here. Donnie, you're out of your element. But,
artwork might be better.
Well, but even baseball cards. So they might make 10,000 of one baseball card, but the one that you have in your possession is unique because of condition. And I remember when I was a kid and collected baseball cards.
Yeah.
How sharp are the corners? Are the borders even? All that kind of stuff. And they actually grade these things at the factory. So like PSA grades them.
Right.
And depending on how pristine they are, they're worth more money. So yeah, an individual baseball card could be an NFT.
It could be.
It's registered on the blockchain. I've read some things let's just dive into some of the examples, Jason. Like you said, they can't be exchanged at an equivalency like a cryptocurrency or any other. They are unique and individual items or ideas. That's the crazy thing. We're getting into the world of ideas.
I know.
So what's crazy about this is we're going to get into examples, but the possibilities are endless, Jason.
Exactly.
Artwork we talked about. But real estate.
Which is a unique thing.
Absolutely. It could be a piece of land.
Right.
Are there different ways to title land and prove ownership? Sure. But you want to register it on the blockchain? Here you go.
I think about the implications of having that registered on the blockchain. Because one of the things about the blockchain that folks sometimes forget is there's no intermediaries.
Absolutely.
So
that's one of the attractive appeals to all of this.
Right. So, in a real estate transaction, you've got a lot of folks, involved from a title search all the way to real estate agent, banker. Like those are all intermediaries making this transaction happen.
Yeah.
So the implications of this is pretty crazy.
I think the idea, when you look at this, it's a pretty cool idea. Execution is everything, right? So the blockchain is one of the perks, one of the pros of the blockchain is the security. Mm-hmm. But also, when we talk about Bitcoin and the blockchain, we see it as an area that's ripe for fraud, right?
Right, yeah.
So some more examples. You talked about sports cards. Here's one I love, bourbon.
Oh, geez.
Rare bottles
That's
or
interesting.
barrels of bourbon. Yeah, they're working on this. I listen to some bourbon podcasts, believe it or not. And this is a thing. So, some of these rare old Pappy bottles and things like that. NFTs. Another, I'm skipping ahead, but why this is so attractive right now, the stock market's going crazy. Bonds are no good. Commodities have gone crazy. But people are looking for things to invest in because cash is getting beat up by inflation. So what do? Oh, I don't know. Apparently through NFTs, possibilities are endless. We'll hold back our verdict on NFTs here for a little bit later. But yeah, the possibilities are really endless. There are some really cool examples that I read about. The NBA, who's very progressive and, always willing to try new things. They are basically something called NBA Top Shot.
Right.
They are taking digital moments, from their playoff games right now.
That's just crazy.
And they're tokenizing it. And you can buy that moment. You can own that moment in NBA history.
That's kind of crazy.
How many moments are there in an NBA playoff game? I mean, so the possibility to monetize all this stuff is really endless. And I don't know if I'm using that term correctly there even. But.
Well, I think it's close. I mean, the reality is, though, like many things, the NFT is, if I have a piece of real estate that's in a river bottom and it floods every year and is worth nothing, I could have a piece of real estate on Palm Beach. They're not all the same value
because they're non-fungible.
Ooh, non-fungible.
So think about, I always I bring this one up because I feel like we own this moment. Some friends and I were big Cleveland Cavaliers fans back when LeBron was in town the first time, and he was making his ascent in the NBA. And we bought these mini season ticket packages, so we would have playoff priority, or ticket priority for one playoff game of our choice. And they played the mighty Boston Celtics, who had ruled the NBA.
Sure.
And I remember the moment because it was on commercials. Still maybe on commercials with LeBron James dunking over Kevin Garnett, and he does the face. And it was like the NBA where amazing happens. And we were all like, wow, we were there. We saw it. It was amazing. We feel like we own the moment. Now you technically could own the moment.
You could own it. And I'm sure they're going to sell it, or if they haven't already. So
it's wild. But think about it. The the pass that led to that dunk is probably not worth as much as the dunk. Right?
Yeah, you're
so
right.
While there are endless possibilities, like you said, the value of each moment. Now, at the rate that we can take pictures,
I know.
Think of how many NFTs could be
created
from one real moment, right?
Right.
We were joking before coming in here. This conversation out here, if you want to take a video, we could tokenize it. We could make an NFT out of this. Nobody would pay anything for it, however. But you know what? Similar to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, you could go start a crypto right now if you wanted to. My cousin has a cryptocurrency. I don't know what it trades at. Not much. But he has one, right?
Wow.
How's your crypto doing, Jason?
Not so great.
Cool. So NBA Top Shot I thought was a really interesting example. I'll let you take this next one.
I know.
Twitter.
This one just blows my mind. Jack Dorsey, former CEO of Twitter. Twitter's all over the news right now.
Already.
Because I mean it. He's not at the helm. So the reality is they took his first tweet ever. Okay.
How would you own something like that?
Made
Jason?
it into a token and an NFT and sold it for $2.9 million.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, guys, there's people out there that really kind of worship at the altar of Twitter and Jack Dorsey. So, I mean, there's no doubt that he has a following. But this is really, really strange to me to stop and think about buying the first tweet.
It's wild.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm trying to connect it to what the guy must have been like buying, a Da Vinci or, a Picasso, and how people probably thought they were crazy too. So I'm trying
This is true.
I'm trying to like, there's, especially, I think I can most connect this to like the surrealism movement in artwork. And like, Salvador Dali comes in the room and he's like, look at this crazy thing I created. And someone in the room's like,
these melted clocks,
right,
man?
right. Those people have real long legs. Like I don't know. I think I kind of feel old about this, and yet those paintings today are so valuable.
Here's where I have an issue, though. I could be captivated forever looking at a Dali painting, right?
Yeah.
There's some enjoyment to observing it and analyzing it and picking it apart. I've seen the NFT of the first tweet. It's just not Times New Roman. It's just Arial 10-point font. Come on,
yeah,
man.
but I'm going to argue this a little bit, because you could make the argument that says the launch of a platform that changed the world has the same kind of effect that a Salvador Dali painting would have.
Okay, so cultural impact. Right. Totally with you on that.
I'm kind of.
But you own that tweet, and what does it do for you other than being able to say, "Hey, first tweet, you know what? I own it."
I don't know, man. I'm trying. I'm trying.
What else do you get out of it, though, other than being able to say, "I own this moment"?
I think this is the old guy coming out of you in particular.
I am much older than I look,
which is the. Unless it's physical and I could reach out and touch it, it doesn't mean anything. Well, I'm going to tell you, this economy is largely based on things you can't reach out and touch. And I think that's where I'm scratching my head on this. Don't get me wrong. Like I think it's crazy town, but
it feels like we're reaching for things to invest in at this point. A little bit, doesn't it?
From an investment perspective, yes, no doubt about it. From a speculative perspective, I think artwork always has had, and any asset that I'm going to put into this category, there's always a component of speculation when it comes to something that just doesn't have not even hardly an ounce of history. So I'm gonna kind of dance around that a little bit, and
I like that we're not totally on the same page on this.
I do too. I guess I can appreciate the cultural impact of owning the first tweet ever. Now, the second tweet, it's useless.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I don't know. It might not be.
I mean, but where do we stop? How about the tweet that got Donald Trump suspended or taken out? Those kinds of things.
Again, I mean, it might have some cultural significance.
Right.
What about
we're just taking it feels like we're just taking things that have already happened and being like, hey, you want to own it? Well, here you go.
But I mean, there are original Ansel Adams photos that it's just a snapshot. I mean,
well, sure. So we are talking abstract ideas here,
right?
In the NBA Top Shot, in the first tweet, even if we go back to like artwork and baseball cards, right? It's not the value of the canvas and the paint that's on it. It's what it does to you. It's the time locked in thought. It's the reaction that you get from it. It's very abstract.
I haven't been in touch with my artsy fartsy side in so long that I would even argue that it's not even the painting itself that is the value.
You're saying it's the historical.
No, I actually think it's the reflection of a brilliant artist, their brain. And that's where I'm connecting NFTs to like a piece of artwork.
So here we are. We've been able to monetize abstract thoughts and ideas and
there we are.
Talent in that case.
Absolutely.
It's interesting. It's really interesting.
So if I had the ability to own a thought of pick your favorite historical figure, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Is that worth something?
You want to own not the Gettysburg Address, the paper form which was written out, but if you want to own the idea, the Gettysburg Address, NFTs are the way you do that.
You can see where I'm going, right?
This is why it sounds so crazy to me, Jason.
I know.
We all own it. It's our history.
Kind of.
And if you have something that says you own it, I don't own it any less than I do now.
Not necessarily.
Somebody's got to be willing to fork over the money.
That's right. I just don't. I don't know if and I'm being real artsy here. If the image on the canvas is actually the value of the painting.
All right, so I'm going to throw something at you, and then we'll dive into pros and cons. Chew on this. Pull your wallet out.
I don't have a wallet with me.
All right.
Wait,
well,
I have a digital credit card.
Okay, there you go. Making my point, right?
Right.
If you have cash in your wallet,
I know.
it's not the value of the paper or the ink.
Nothing. I know.
Especially now.
Especially
now.
Especially.
Our currency is jacked up, man.
It's fascinating.
So we're printing.
Is it
our
that
own
different?
Currency. We're printing our own currency. You could say. Well, what does the Fed do after all? No, but seriously,
Wow, this is kind of controversial.
This is definitely. Is there merit to the idea of NFTs?
I'm gonna say I don't really know yet.
Well, here's where I might not be as convinced as you seem to be.
Right.
But there's definitely merit. There's definitely merit in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think. Yes, that's why I wouldn't be arguing that way if I'm saying, okay, I don't fully understand this, but I'm telling you right now, I'm smart enough to tell you that if I saw a Picasso painting and I was the first person to ever see one, I wouldn't have understood it either.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that's why I'm like, there's a bit of caution. That does not mean that I'm going to just go throw a little bit of something at it and plan on that as part of my retirement, without doing extensive, involved research from this point.
So before you jump into application, which is where you're dangerously close to going, I'm just going to put it this way. We did an episode on Bitcoin and essentially cryptocurrencies. I feel like there is more substance here than there is with crypto.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, because here we are, how many years after Bitcoin and, all the crypto rate.
Right.
Remember when it first came out and we're like, explain Bitcoin and we'll talk about it, right? Well, it's here to stay. However, one of the most attractive things to that is it's not centralized to any U.S. Any central bank, right? But also that tells me that when everybody decides to jump off of Bitcoin, it's worth zero.
That's correct.
Okay, with this though, if you have an NFT of an individual piece of artwork that hasn't been hanging in an art gallery, right? Artist finds a way to tokenize their work. Mm-hmm. They can't take it away from you.
Correct.
So the blockchain is legitimate. It's real because it's on the blockchain. You actually have something, in my opinion, of substance, whereas crypto, a fungible token.
Correct.
If everybody jumped on Ethereum and Bitcoin is gone, Bitcoin is worth nothing.
Right.
That individual piece of artwork is always worth something to somebody.
That's right.
It's really interesting.
It's fascinating. Oh,
okay. So pros and cons. Let's talk about it a little bit. And we've hit on some of these, I think. So this is kind of our take. Pros, I wrote down that this does create an efficient market, right?
It does. I mean, it really does.
And it really, from this standpoint, we talked about like artists and, music and things like that. It really does empower an artist or, the creator, right?
Until they figure out a way to take advantage.
Well, wait, we're not in cons yet.
I know. Whoops.
So the other cool thing is the ability to fractionalize ownership of like physical assets, right? Let's say an Airbnb and talk about the title work if you have 100 owners in an Airbnb. Forget that. On the blockchain, you can fractionalize it.
Yeah, and I think that is something that, making the complex simple. I think about I want to buy a investment real estate on Malibu. It's $40 million, but I can have a crap load of owners, and we all have a fractional ownership. That's really fascinating to me as an idea.
Yeah.
It's almost
this is a very conceptual topic in the first place.
It's almost like taking a piece of real estate and making it into a fund.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just really interesting, and I think probably useful.
Yeah. Well, this is all backed up by the blockchain, and that's the third pro that I wrote down is that it's secure as the blockchain.
Right.
Now, moving to cons. One of the cons is, well, it's as secure as the blockchain.
Yeah. I think there's been a few headlines that are kind of making people go, huh?
Yeah.
I can remember I was in a conference like years ago and they were talking about blockchain and how it was impossible. No way anybody could ever change the ledger.
Well.
And I was like, hey, that's funny. And so, one of the most recent stories is they seized cryptos off the blockchain. The government did.
Yeah.
This is
well, folks. The true criminals will find a way.
use the blockchain. Apparently.
Yeah, it's wild. So that is a pro, but it could also be a con. This is all pretty new, right? One of the other things I had is that this creates it's very illiquid.
Yeah.
Which illiquidity leads to volatility.
Absolutely.
Right. So you might be thinking, but I have a hard physical asset, which is usually less volatile. Well, this is going to be very volatile. And I think kind of a blend of these last two statements is it makes things ripe for fraud, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's new. We're figuring it out.
Those darn creative people.
I can see the scams already.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're buying a physical item and you're buying the NFT, it's kind of like the gold guys on TV, right?
Yeah.
Gold in your IRA. We'll hold it for you, and we'll charge you to hold it too.
Yeah,
But
wink, wink.
Are they really holding any gold for you? I don't know.
We don't know.
So, yeah, I think it's ripe for fraud. I think it's a brave new world, Jason. The idea is really interesting. And my take is, I think maybe it's more formidable than crypto even. And by the way, I'm not saying I think crypto's complete phooey either.
No, I'm not either. I do have a lot of reservation around crypto, but again, we're here to do investment advising for folks that are trying to save with consistency and project things for their future. This is not it.
This is definitely in the speculative category, which we don't do here.
Yeah, and so I'm not saying I'm not fascinated by it, or there's an opportunity potentially here. And I think the applications of this will be understood so much. I actually believe blockchain and the use of cryptos and NFTs will be probably normal business at some point in the next couple decades. Okay, but right now, again, it feels very speculative, and that
I'm gonna wait and see.
Yeah, I'm gonna. But I have to confess, when I hear the opportunity to learn more, I'm always kicking those tires. So
yeah,
it's good.
I think it's a wait and see. To me, it does feel a little bit like we're grasping towards some asset, because right now asset classes are all screwed up and everybody wants some return. And again, it's a little difficult out there right now. But that's enough on that. Hopefully, this was meant to be a primer. Hopefully, you understand a little bit more about it. We think we do. So that being said, thanks for having a drink with us this week. It's time to close out the tab. If you have a question or topic you want addressed on the Old Fashioned Finance podcast, be sure to email us at podcast@bluejfg.com. We would love to hear from you. Don't forget to share the show with someone you love or just someone who needs a little money muddling themselves. You can stay up to date with the latest action by following us on Facebook. Old Fashioned Finance is brought to you by Blue Jay Financial Group. That's bluejfg.com. And produced by Podastery Studios. We've been your hosts, Caleb and Jason. Cheers.
Woo, fungible.
Blue Jay Financial Group, LLC. Blue Jay is a registered investment advisor registered with the state of Ohio. Registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training. The presence of this advertisement on this podcast shall not be directly or indirectly interpreted as a solicitation of investment advisory services to persons of another jurisdiction unless otherwise permitted by statute. Follow-up or individualized responses to a consumer in a particular state by Blue Jay and the rendering of personalized investment advice for compensation shall not be made without first complying with jurisdiction requirements or pursuant an applicable state exemption. All verbal and written consent on this presentation is for information purposes only. Opinions expressed herein are solely those of Blue Jay unless otherwise specifically cited. Material presented is believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations are made by our firm as to other parties' informational accuracy or completeness. All information or ideas provided should be discussed in detail with an advisor, accountant, or legal counsel prior to implementation.